So as soon as they come in, everyone wants to solo
because we're not going to be able to. It gets different.
네, 안녕하십니까. 저는 뉴욕 한인 직능단체 협의 의장 김영진입니다. 저는 폴 벨론의 선거 캠프의 한인 공동후원회장으로서 우리 한인을 위해서 열심히 일해줄 수 있는 인물이라 생각을 해서 저희 한인들이 적극적으로 도와야 된다고 생각을 하고 또 11월 5일 본선거에서는 한 사람도 빠짐없이 선거에 참여해서 투표에 참여해서 반드시 당선을 시켜서 우리 폴 벨론이 시정을 운영해 나갈 때 우리 한인들 위해서 목소리를 내줄 수 있는 그런 사람이 되리라고 믿는 바 아무튼 투표에 적극 참여해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Paul Belonimnida. Anaseo, everyone. Tonight we're here at my Clinton Democratic Club, and we're very proud to have our New York City Controller, John Liu, endorse my campaign tonight. And we are going to have the Patrolman PBA, Pat Lynch is going to be here, and the UFT is endorsing all tonight. So we have our teachers union, our police union, and our controller, John Liu, all coming tonight to endorse our campaign and give updates to the community. So our campaign continues to grow with Mr. Kim and Christine Callaghan and all of the support in the Korean community. We are going to win on November 5th. Very excited. 감사합니다.
Okay, my name is Anthony Lemma. I'm Congresswoman Grace Mang's Deputy District Director. I am here tonight at the Clinton Democratic Club to present a flag that was flown over the Capitol to Mr. Vallone and the Clinton Democratic Club. Grace is down in Washington, hopefully avoiding the shutdown any further. There's going to be a vote tonight, and hopefully it goes our way and the government will open up.
Kevin Galligan. He said, well, you tell Kevin Galligan when I punch him now, it'll be a little higher. Yeah. It's the punchable. This is Korean TV.
I'm Patrick Lynch, president of the New York City Patrolmen's Benevolent Association, and we're here this evening to continue to give support to someone that's continually supported New York City police officers in how we do our job, make sure we have the staffing and training and we need, and he brought it to the local. He brought it to the neighborhoods here, and he brings folks to this Democratic Club to make sure that he's able to service the community by having us service the community as well. So the choice for Vallone is the right choice. It was the easy choice. It was actually earned. It wasn't given.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. I think we are officially begun the meeting.
Okay. Well, let's have a moment for the...
Yes. While we're standing.
For the men and women who serve us with their lives overseas and at home. A moment of silence, please.
Sure. Good to see everybody again. We stay together. We are starting our October meeting, and we had a meeting last month. This is the Clinton Democratic Club. Joe, welcome, welcome. We have a lot of speakers this evening, and it's an honor to give you guys an update of where we've been from September until now. So obviously, as a Democratic Club, it has been an exciting month. We have garnered a lot of excitement. Our campaign, because it's not my campaign, it's our campaign, because I couldn't have done any of this without you. That's right, it's our campaign. Our campaign continues to grow, and it really is daily at this point. And just as a quick little summary, last week, Mr. Young Jin Kim, did he leave? He was here.
Oh, okay.
There he is, Mr. Young Jin Kim and I walked the Korean Day Parade. Mr. Kim is the president of the New York City Korean Business Association. All the businesses that you see in New York, he's the president of them. So let's hear from Mr. Kim. We walked together arm in arm up Fifth Avenue in the Korean Day Parade last week, and it was wonderful. The respect, the combination of the communities, I couldn't tell you how better that we were all treated, because where I go, we go. They had us as a marshal in the parade. They let us speak in the parade. And everywhere we go, the Asian Americans that are part of this district, which are key to this district, and now they're joining into our club, and we're joining everything together. They have welcomed our entire campaign very, very much so. It's one of the key reasons why we won the primary. So on each of the meetings now, you're going to see our Asian press, Korean press, Chinese press, because that's part of the inclusion that we want in the neighborhood. So with Mr. Kim's help, Christine Callaghan, you've seen her with me, and all of the Korean leaders. Ron Kim is with us on a daily basis. Grace Meng has brought us through. I can't tell you the amount of support that the community has brought through. That was just in the Korean parade. Then, just this Monday, we were marching together in the Columbus Day parade. And there's nothing like walking in the middle of the parade and standing there with your governor, with Andrew Cuomo putting his hand up in the air saying, "We're with Paul Vallone." There's nothing like walking in the Columbus Day parade, again, with the honor of so many people. And the way you guys treated us, as always, with IAMPAC. You know, IAMPAC was one of our first endorsements, the Italian American Political Action Committee for the whole of New York. They run the breakfast at the Columbus Day parade. So next year, I say, we all march together, because the city council has its own space there, right between the mayor, and it's welcome to everyone. And my father, for 30 years, has welcomed the neighborhood to march. He's had a breakfast. My brother has been there for over a decade, and hopefully we will be there next year. And all of us can march, and it's a wonderful parade. You start the day at Mass with our cardinal. We have a nice breakfast, and off we go up Fifth Avenue together. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll bring all the kids. We can have our Clinton Club banner, and we can watch March and March. And this is where this pin was given to me, the Petrosino Foundation, our detective who gave his life fighting for crime at the turn of the century, now has an entire lodge named after him, and the movement's gone countrywide. And that's been very important. So that's just a little summary. We have got both senators now are on board. Our governor's on board. The entire Democratic Party that you know about is on board. But some very critical endorsements that I think were part of the reason why we won the primary, and they're back tonight. And standing behind me is a man that really needs no introduction. But our family, going back to my father, who brought Safe Streets, Safe City, my brother, who's a public safety chair, and the candidate that's running against me, who dares to say he's more for public safety than we are. Pat Lynch heard that and said, "I'm coming tonight," and restate to the community and everyone that he is with our campaign. Every law enforcement agency is with our campaign. There's not one. From PBA to corrections to detectives to captains to sergeants to lieutenants. And not only is their endorsement critical, but they're there on the streets every day. And even on primary day, you saw men in the offices. You saw them with their jackets. You saw the firefighters, the officers, the police were there standing with us. And when you win a primary as close as that one, that's how critical that is. So for me, the man that came early tonight, first one here, it is one of the most distinguished honors one can give when you introduce the president of the Policeman Benevolent Association, Mr. Pat Lynch.
I thought he was talking about someone else. I thought I was blocking them. But it's terrific to be here tonight, and quite frankly, it's amongst friends. I live on 50th Avenue. I reared my children here in the neighborhood. Worked in St. Andrews as a young person. So this is really home to me. My father was born in Whitestone, and he reared 7 of us here as well. So it's important that we keep neighborhoods like this safe. And although the police always get the credit, rightfully so, to men and women that are out there on the corner doing the job, but in reality, we can't do it without the support, first of the community, obviously to support the police officers, but also to support people that will give us the resources that we need. You know, we're at a critical juncture right now in policing in New York City. We're 7,000 police officers short in New York City from the high. We're the only police department across the country that's downsized since September 11th. And the men and women have done a terrific job, no doubt about that. But you never want to find that spot where it turns and returns to a time when we didn't feel safe in the neighborhood. That's why it's important that we support Paul. Because he's going to have a voice on the city council at a time when it needs a reasonable voice. And I truly believe, and I may sound naive, but if you stand up and speak reasonable ideas, you speak the truth of what's going on, and you speak the truth of what's going on in the neighborhood, others will listen and follow. I truly think that. Sometimes you hear what's being said about the police department. You wonder what police department they're actually talking about. We've brought crime down to record numbers. And it's not just that. We did it in companionship with the community as well. So I think having someone with your background who's always worked with the police department, whose father and brother have always worked in the police department, and you mentioned Safe Streets, Safe City. That was the turning point that brought the city back, and we remember it. I worked on the subway as a young fellow, as a conductor, and look, it was a terrible time.
It was high crime. There was graffiti on every wall that you looked at. All that was turned around in a relatively short period of time. It was turned around because the Vallone family at the time stood up, had an idea, and really brought the mayor's office, the Albany legislators, the city council along to an idea that didn't start off too popular, but really turned the city around. And we're at that juncture again, whether it's that idea or another idea that comes up with that we can keep the staffing up in the police departments. So quite frankly, we can send our kids to school in safety as well. So I only wanted to take a couple of minutes here. I know I barged in on your meeting. I asked Paul, we were together last week, to come here and just say a couple of words. Because, look, remember, 60% of New York City police officers live in the confines of New York City. They live in neighborhoods just like this. I'm a proud police officer. My brother grew up in the neighborhood. He retired from the police department. My son now is a police officer as well, and my other son is on the path to do that as well. So it's quite frankly, it's personal to me because I want to keep the neighborhood strong. It's a diverse neighborhood. It's a neighborhood of working class folks, and that's what builds the city. You hear some folks talk about more millionaires coming in. Yeah, that sounds nice if they're going to hire folks, but the reality is you want the middle class working folks in the neighborhood. That's what keeps it strong. That's who pays the taxes. That's what gets it done. And more importantly, we have to bring our friends to the polls to make sure we get the right people in office. So I don't want to run on too long. I appreciate the invite to be here. And I'll be at the polls. Hopefully I'll see all of you as well. Perfect. Thank you. Hey, and I also got to mention Adam Lombardo back there. Constantly.
Be here with Paul. Been here a few times.
Yeah, a few times, sir. We're going to keep bringing you back.
I know him now about 4 years, and I think you have possibly one of the best candidates running in the city of New York for the city council.
Here, here.
I definitely think you have that. And this district has suffered. I'm going to choose my words carefully. I'm not going to bash anyone. But
We know what you mean.
you know what I mean. Okay, this district has not had the kind of representation that it needs to have in the city council. You don't need scandal following the person who's out there trying to represent you, and you're not going to have that with Paul Vallone. You'll have somebody who's out there for the community. Now, I came in on the tail end of Pat's speech when he was talking about the importance of police officers and law and order in a community to keep a community safe and to keep a community thriving. Schools go hand in glove with that. Whether you're in parochial schools, private schools, or public schools, we can never take our eye off our public schools because they can affect change in a neighborhood. And for 12 years, for the entire lifespan of a child in school, from first grade through graduating high school, we've had a mayor of this city who used our educational system as a political football. We are very optimistic in the public school sector that that's going to change in this city. The politics will be taken out of the classroom for the first time in 20 years, but definitely the last 12 years. But in order for us to push in the right direction, not only do we need a mayor who's going to look and focus on education in a positive way, you need every district to have elected representatives who are going to push that way. And in this district, you have several other electoral districts that intertwine. And you have Ed Braunstein here up in Albany, who I work closely with. You've got a phenomenal representative there in Ed Braunstein. He is out all the time campaigning. Because nothing gets by Ed when it comes to his community, and nothing gets by Ed when it comes to education. And I know all I ever have to do is pick up the phone, and Ed is there, and we can talk and we can discuss education. And we did play golf last year, and I did beat him. We didn't get a chance for a rematch this year. But you have some great representatives here. Adding to the mix is going to be Paul Vallone. But sometimes in elections we take things for granted. We have a general election coming up, and I know it was a fight in your primary, as it should be. That's what a democracy is about. You get everybody in there, you fight it out, you battle it out. Now comes the general election. We cannot, not one person in this room, not one person in this community who voted for Paul Vallone can take this victory for granted. Yes. You cannot take it for granted, because when that happens, that's when you lose. And this community cannot afford for Paul Vallone not to be the next city council person. Let's talk a little bit about what can happen in our schools and why it's so important that Paul be there. Again, as I said, regardless of whether your children are in a parochial school or in a public school, our public schools are the hubs of our community. And there was a time years ago when it was the center of the community with the police stations, the churches, and your schools. Schools have been put on the shelf for too long. I talk all over Queens. I travel all over Queens, and at this time of night, you can't drive by a school building, even though it's dark outside. You can't drive by a school building, but you don't see the lights on. You see them on. They're cleaning the floors, they're cleaning the stairs, they're cleaning the classroom. There's nobody inside the schools. When did we ever allow it to happen that our communities can be starved out of our school buildings? Our children should have access in the winter months. And all around the year, I believe, when that school building is sitting vacant and there's no classes going on, those school buildings should be utilized. It's not that it's going to add any cost to the city in terms of electricity. The lights are on. I see them all the time. So one of the things that I would be hoping that Paul will advocate for is any neighborhood in this district that requires their children to be allowed, given access to those school buildings, whether it's for basketball, football, learning programs, whatever it is. I know Paul's the guy that will bring the money into the district and focus on that for our parents. All of us in this community need to stand up and be a voice in improving our education. We can never, ever let happen what happened over the last 12 years. Now, I know sometimes when I go in and speak, people say, oh, he's from the union. Michael Bloomberg has managed over 12 years to do a lot of damage, and one of the things he's been tried to be successful at, I don't think he's been successful, is to tarnish the United Federation of Teachers. It's not true. We don't just advocate because we're advocating for members. I don't know how many people here, but I'm sure every one of you knows somebody who's a public school teacher, whether it's your mother, your father, your brother, your sister. There's one there. Welcome. I congratulate you. Everybody I've ever met that has come into this profession comes in with a level of enthusiasm that should be harnessed. It should be harnessed, schooled, molded, and helped develop so that they can become the best educator they can be. For your children. That's not what happened. If you look at the attrition rate in New York City right now, we have over 50% of the teachers that come in within 5 years are gone out of the system. And that's not because they're run out because they're bad teachers. That's a tiny percentage of that, tiny. Most of them leave because they can't handle the bureaucracy that's going on. They can't handle the limited amount of actual educating that they're allowed to do in a classroom. Those are things that we need to see change. And I know that I'm confident here it's going to happen. But it's not only in this district. We need a city council that's going to be an advocate for the one group of people in this city that can't vote. Our children can't vote. So for 12 years, you look at high school graduates, they talk about the poor rate of graduation in high schools. And we're not going to dispute it. It's there. It's not great. But we've had a leader in this city who for 12 years has said he was the educational mayor. So for 12 years, we've had a system that has absolutely been a disaster. We've tried it his way. It hasn't worked. He has boxed out you guys. Education doesn't just take place in a classroom. There's a group of people that are involved. There's your elected officials, your community leaders. We'll put all them as one part of it. There's the educators in the building, and that's the school principals, the assistant principals, the teachers in the building. It's the second part of it. And the third, and equally as important, are the parents and the community. And for too long, the three of those have been pushed to the side. I've spoken with Paul many times on educational policy, and I've spoken with Ed as well on it. And those people are on the same page that we bring everybody back to the table. We bring everybody that's in this room and in this community back to the table on education. Because not every school needs to target their children the same way throughout the city. And that's one of the absurdities that has happened in this city. So we need to change that. We need to unhandcuff our principals and allow them to run a building as an educator and not as chief financial officer. And that's the way it's been. They can't hire the best and the brightest the way they want to because they're limited on the amount of money that they can spend. Pat Lynch left here a little while ago. I often wanted to have a conversation with him about if you know how our schools are funded. It's unlike a police station, it's unlike a firehouse, it's unlike any other city agency. Because it would be unacceptable to the people of New York. But I'm not sure if you all realize how it's done. A police precinct commander gets his budget for the police officers that are there and for the resources that are needed for that community. A principal doesn't. A principal's into their budget is also thrown the salaries of the people in the building. So you can have, if you had the police department funded the same way our public schools are funded, you'd have police cars driving down the street running out of gas on the way to a 911 call. Salaries should not be a part of what a principal does inside a school. Shouldn't be a part of it. One of the things I'm optimistic that will change is that when Paul gets to the city council, he's going to bring that conversation up, and he's going to bring it up so that our principals in this district, you have 2 school districts here, 25 and 26. There's people from all over the city move to these districts because of the public schools. So we have to protect them, we have to keep them on the right path, and we have to bring the resources into those schools so our principals and our teachers in those schools can give your children the education that they need and that they deserve, so that when they graduate, they can go on to be successful, contributing members of society. Take politics out of education, and that's what will happen. So I'm here, very proud to stand with Paul and endorsing Paul. We're going to work very hard for him. I just left a phone bank with 68 people down there making phone calls.
I like to hear.
See, that's why I was a little late. I had to run out of there. But it's not. We're not going to do it alone. Paul's not going to do it alone. Every single one of you in this room have to make sure that you do not take your foot off the gas pedal. You have to talk to your neighbors, your friends, your moms, your dads, your brothers, your sisters. Everybody has to be energized for this election in, what is it, 3 weeks?
2 weeks, 6 days, and 1 hour.
There you go. That's what we're going to do. We'll be there with you. We'll be there with Paul. We'll be there with all of you to get this done. And after it's done, we stay with him. We all stay together to make sure our community stays safe and that our schools become, again, the icon in the community that they once were. Thank you very much for having me.
By the way, we talked about marching together, right, in all the different parades. One of the presidents that just walked in, Mr. Paul Yu, has been a friend of mine now. We have gone this entire year building our coalition. Paul Yu is the president of the Korean American Association of Queens County. That's Paul right there. So I also saw Ed, people coming in order now. Our Assemblyman Ed Braunstein's here. Ed, you want to give us a quick update what's going on in Albany, or you just say hello? I like that, Ed. You're just sitting there. You're good. Well, we just saw, we started off with Pete, you just met Pat Lynch, and he talked about public safety. But what Pat talked about was how Dad started it, how you continued it, and how we'd like to continue that tradition out here. So our current public safety chairman of the city council is my brother, Peter Malone.
Can't be shorter than Ed, but I will try to be short. First of all, thank you all for your support in my campaign. It was really appreciated. Thank you. Didn't work out the way we had planned, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm gonna stand with you and fight for the things that this community needs and deserves. And our values, like our teachers and our cops and our streets, and it's so great to see the support that Paul has from the UFT and the PBA and community leaders like Warren and so many, and just most importantly, community members like you guys. That's what's going to win this election for him. And I got to tell you, we need him at City Hall. I'm down there. There aren't a lot of people who think like us at City Hall. Okay, we need Paul down there. And I'm going to work with him when he gets down there, and we're going to make sure that some of the things I've been fighting for a long time continue to be fought for. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm waiting for God to open that other door. While I'm waiting, I'm working hard, like you guys are working hard, to get him elected, to make sure we still have a Valone at City Hall. Thank you all. Thank you.
One of her representatives, Anthony Lemma Jr. tonight. So Anthony, I know you got a special presentation. Want to give us a quick update or what's going on?
Absolutely. Are you getting paid? I'll let you know tonight. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, but luckily I have Anthony Lemma Sr. over there, so I'll be all right.
That's right. All day.
Exactly. I'm very happy to be here tonight on behalf of Congresswoman Mang. My name is Anthony Lemma Jr. I oversee her Flushing office over on Union Street, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Give us a call whenever you need anything at all. Congresswoman would much rather be up here with all of you rather than trying to speak reason to people who aren't rational in Washington, but that's the job, so that's what she's doing. There is an agreement out of the Senate tonight. We expect the House to vote late, so hopefully everything goes the way it should go, and the government will be up and running, and the debt ceiling will get raised by this evening, and we'll wake up tomorrow in a much saner world, so we'll see. Since she wasn't able to make it tonight, she had a flag flown over the Capitol building just before the shutdown, as a matter of fact.
It's one of the last places.
Yes, because that's not available right now. But we had this flown for Paul and the Clinton Democratic Club.
Wow. Very cool.
As a wife, I saw her husband at the train station yesterday as we walk, and Warren and I and Matt Silverstein, one of our state committee members like John Dorsa and Marianne Dorsa, our district leader. They work so hard every day. We start our days 6 o'clock in the morning at the train stations. We walk in the homes, we go into our shopping centers, we knock on the doors. My amazing volunteers that you see all around you, by the way. Look at their amazing faces. Every day, the phone calls, the knock, it's a lot of work. So I'm just going to jump into what Vito was going to tell you. Vito Totonico is my treasurer and adopted son at this point. He's right here. He's been taking pictures all night. What he's got in his hand is this sign-up sheet that most of you signed up for. We couldn't have won the primary if you didn't help.
It's on everyone's chair.
So all it says, and I don't want you to get nervous on it, it just says on the Saturday, the Sunday, the Monday, the Tuesday before November 5th, I can help for these 2 hours. I can make calls, I can knock on doors, and we go out together. And believe it or not, we have fun doing it. And we go into the neighborhood, and people have been very, very receptive. It hasn't been, what are you doing at my door? You guys are all, it's been very different, especially after the primary. Now it's a clear choice now. It's just two people. There's no more, you can't hide behind who you are. You can't make up things anymore. And that's what we've been saying at every debate. I stand up there every now saying, I take my hat off and say, I've been, for the last decade, I've never seen you. How can you run here for city council? What have you done? And there's no response. And then we stand there with our PBA and our UFT and all of our unions, and we stand there very strong, and our message is growing and growing. We can't take any of that for granted. So, Vito, what's the sheet? What else is on the sheet for us?
Hello, everybody. So there's two sheets here. The first one is the small one. If anyone has any time from now up until November 1st, sign up on this sheet. There's so many things to do here. We're doing friend-to-friend letters every day. We're doing phone banking every night. If you're bilingual, even better. You know, we'll if you speak Greek, Italian, Korean, whatever it may be. There's nothing better than calling someone in their own language and explaining the importance of this election, not only for the community but for New York City. So if you have any time at all for anything, like we said, knock on doors, canvassing is a great way to talk to voters. There's nothing better, like I said, than going to someone's door and speaking to them personally and telling them how important this is and what Paul stands for. So if you have any time at all, please, there's Monday through Sunday. We're here 7 days a week from 10 to 10 o'clock. So if you have any time at all, please share. The other sheet, the bigger sheet here, is the Get Out the Vote sheet. Basically, everything we do, any voter we speak to from now or throughout the summer up until November 1st, basically, our goal is to get them to vote. If they tell us, yes, we're supporting Paul, we want to do everything in our power. Either bring them to the polls, call them, knock on their door, send them an absentee ballot, whatever it takes to get them out to vote. So basically what we do is, on Saturday and Sunday, we do one run through everything. We try to call everyone. We try to go to their door if it's possible and say, at some point throughout the last 6 months, you said you will be supporting Paul. Please don't forget to vote on Tuesday. On Monday, we will go to their homes again. And that's why we need as many bodies as possible. It is. And it is an incredible weekend. The 4 days is the amount of people that come through the door. It's humbling. It really is. So Monday we'll do what we like to call either a sticky drop-off or a door hanger, and we'll go remind people where they vote. We want to make sure if people really want to come out and vote, you go to PS 169, you're at PS 107, you're at Senate, whatever it may be. That's Monday, and then Tuesday Election Day. You guys know Tuesday Election Day is one more time. Call everyone. Call their friends, whoever we know that is supporting Paul. It's our goal to reach out to them and say, please come out and vote today. This is the last day we'll be talking to, hopefully till January, so we'll leave you alone. And if we do that, I'm sure we'll be celebrating on November 5th. So please, guys, if you have any time, if you know anyone, interns, we have 3 weeks left. Like I said, there's still an opportunity for an internship. Community service for schools. I know Holy Cross requires 100 hours of community service to graduate. There's a great place to get it. It's a very friendly environment, and anyone that steps through the door always has a great time. So thank you so much. I'll take any of them. If you guys want to sign up now, you don't have to sign up this second. You can email us.
You could.
Yeah, preferably.
Preferably this second.
Sign up right now. And I'll take them from you. Like I said, anyone have some time, we appreciate everything. So thank you so much for listening, guys. Thank you.
All right. By the way, it really does take a village to run this place. Our treasurer is Michael Serrao. I'd like to bring him up. We have a very special introduction we like to make with Elaine. So, Michael.
Well, hello, everyone. One of the great things that we have here in our club is that we have the opportunity to educate our community on some of the great nonprofits that we have in the area. And a lot of people don't know that we have a lot of grassroots nonprofits that started right here in Bayside Whitestone that make a significant difference in our community. And one of those nonprofits is Friends for a Cause, which is a local cancer advocacy organization where all of the funds that are raised, 100% goes right back to the cause. So it's my pleasure to introduce Elaine Lazaridis, who's the executive director, to give you some information about the event, some things that happened this year, and an event they have coming up next week. Elaine.
I am, as Michael said, the executive director of Friends for a Cause. Friends for a Cause was started by a woman by the name of Harriet Bareilles.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Friends for a Cause was started by a woman by the name of Harriet Bareilles, who was right here in Whitestone. And she started the organization to raise funds in memory of her mother for pancreatic cancer. 50% of the funds that she would raise went to Lustgarten Foundation, which obviously serves pancreatic cancer, and the other 50% was given to other various organizations: prostate cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, heart disease. In other words, every penny that came in went out. We've got about 12 women on the committee, and no one gets paid. It's completely volunteer. So we keep nothing, honestly. The story of Harriet, though, took a turn. This organization is a 501c3 corporation, not-for-profit, began in 2010. The year after Harriet started it, she was diagnosed with lung cancer.
I don't want to take your seat.
And this last year, Harriet died at the age of 43. Another supporter of ours, Peter Latos, I'm sure you've heard of him. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer approximately 4 years ago. Another supporter of ours, and he passed away this year as well. And we also lost a woman that we donated to who was suffering from heart disease, and Lauren also passed away this year. So we lost, and I'm sure all of you know someone or have lost somebody that you love to cancer or heart disease or any of those illnesses out there that they just can't control yet. Next week, we're having a Halloween masquerade, and this is the masquerade that Harriet started. Right now, we have about 600 attendees. People dress up. They don't have to dress up, but it's dinner and dancing and about 10 seconds of speaking, honestly. Michael came last year, and he was dressed up, a great supporter of ours, as is Mr. Vallone. Thank God. We need him. We're hoping that we get a tremendous turnout. If you can't attend, we are open for donations. We are on NewYorkCharities.org, and we'd appreciate anything. And that's our story. So I thank you very much for your time.
Excuse me, is that New York spelled out N-Y-O-R-K or N-Y?
NYCharities.org.
Thank you.
And you just...
Elaine, a good thing back from the beginning. So Chuck wanted to surprise this particular gentleman for his work. So it says, the William Jefferson Clinton Democratic Club presented to the Honorable John F. Dorser in grateful recognition of over a decade of service as a member of the New York State Democratic Committee for the 25th Assembly District, and a hell of a good guy, John Dorser.
Chuck, you had a great engraving. I'm sure you did.
We had a little help on
the chisel yourself. I just want to say I spent over a decade in the state committee representing this area, and maps move, things change, circumstances change. You're in good hands with Matt Silverstein sitting in the back over there. Still very active within the Democratic Party apparatus and helping Paul. I guess just to give a brief update, it's going to be an exciting Tuesday in November. We're going to elect Paul. We have for the first time, we have a really viable Democratic slate, top to finish. And I think that that's going to be fantastic. And I encourage all of you to pull the lever for the Democrat. Obviously, this is a Democratic club, but also just become engaged in the campaigns. Go knock on doors or pick up the phone and call and help out Paul. Be aware of the issues. And, sometimes it's just that conversation that you have with your neighbor about some issue that makes them say, hey, that's the guy or gal I want to vote for because, they share the same beliefs that I do, or they have the same feeling about certain things going on in the city that I do, certain things about the budget that matter to me. And I think that that's really important. I also think that in Paul's tenure here, it's been fantastic. We've had many of the people that you see on the ballot come through the doors here and meet with the folks in the community. Bill de Blasio's been here. It's not often that you get mayoral candidates that come. People that have run countywide. Pete's a fixture here. He doesn't realize that he's not in Astoria, but that's a whole other story. We'll take him. But we do have a great election day coming up. And when you go into the ballot booth, also remember, as you go down, there's also judges on the ballot too, and there is a Democratic slate for judicial nominations too. So it's important to go top to bottom. Sometimes people forget about those as they get down towards the bottom, but it's important to elect like-minded people to citywide and countywide offices. So just want to throw that little plug in there for folks. And I'm also trying to do a little song and dance. So
you mentioned actually Bill de Blasio, and when we were marching in the parade, it's not every day when your next mayor turns to you and says, Paul, what do you need in your district? That's the type of leadership we're going to have. Spoke today to my brother and my dad and I about some critical things going on, and about the Korean leadership and how he wanted to put together a group, and what we talked about last night. And I said, that's what we need. We need you here. And he said, I will be. I said, we got to fight for our schools. We talked about Durham. We talked about what we need. And we also talked about what was going on, by the way, down in Whitestone. So just to give you a little summary of what you saw all in the papers, the city did and has targeted the Jules property down on 5th Avenue, 150th, as a possible site for a public high school. Now, you can imagine, people found out because they saw surveyors going down the street. There was no communication. So people got nervous and angry, and they asked for support and help, and that's what we're here for. So what we've managed to do and collect in just 10 days is almost 1,500 petitions. Wow. And tomorrow, we're going down to the School Construction Authority, and Ms. Lorraine Grillo, we've already spoken to, and she appreciates the dialogue. We're not out with a witch hunt. We're not screaming. We're saying, listen to us as a community, whether it's Bayside, Flushing, College Point, doesn't matter. Everyone came together. Joe has said vocally many times, we need a school in College Point. There's nothing there. Kids have to be shipped out and go into here to get to a school. How about down at the Flushing Airport? How about something at St. Fidelis since it closed? So she's willing to speak to us. So she said, bring the petitions. It's okay. That's the type of dialogue the city, and that's what we want. They said, we hear you in Whitestone. But there has been targeted for a school, but she's heard us. The whole city's heard us. And that was how important those rallies were. And keep on. So we have online at our website a real great, easy online petition. You just go on, boom, and it adds your name onto the list. So even though we're handing them in tomorrow, it's not over. So let's get the number up to 2,000. And maybe we can once and for all get that site off the list. But what we've said, what Warren has said, what Chuck as executive chair of Community Board 7 has said, include us. Don't just say a school's going here. We're not saying we don't need schools. One of the first person I called was Dermot. I said, Dermot, what do we do? This is new to us. This hasn't happened. And he said, well, what does the community want? The teachers are with the community. They're not here to cause any problems. What do we want? We want best schools for our kids. We want the right place for the kids. They can't get there. There's not a bus. There's not a parkway. There's not an avenue. There's not a train. What are they going to do, drop them off by helicopter? There's no way to get there. So, at some point you just have to shake your hand and say, okay, I know we need spots, but you can't get there. Some of the things, it's too bad Pat Lynch had just left, because all of what everyone has donated is now accumulated in those 2 bags. So we have one for our hardworking fire department. We have one for the police department. And we have 2 police precincts here, the 109 and 111. and we drop off the candy, and both of the precincts give out Halloween candy on Halloween to make it a safe environment for the children. So they're very appreciative of the donations, and that's a lot of candy over there. So let's give a big hand to all of you for bringing that in. And perfect timing, because what better way could we close out our meeting is a very dear friend of our club and a neighbor and a great man that has served us in many different capacities. So we wanted to honor John tonight. We also wanted to acknowledge his hard work. So in his crazy, busy schedule, and I think I've seen John more this summer, and he said, Paul, I've seen you all over the place, and that's the way we want to do it. You know, we make a commitment to the community to be there. John has made that commitment for his entire life in many different capacities. And over a decade, 12 years, he has been our New York City controller. And we wanted to honor him tonight and hear from him. So everyone, our controllers.
I'm not sure if John's better than candy, though.
It's close, it's close. I'll go with Johnny.
Paul, thank you very much.
All right.
Hey, Marianne. I want to say, Paul, I just left an event in Midtown that filet mignon just came out. I said, you know what? Eating's overrated. I got to get to this club.
Oh, we appreciate it.
And I'm just kidding about the filet. I mean, it was sitting there.
I'm hungry now.
It was sitting there, but that's okay.
We'll go back with you.
No, that's right.
A couple extra tables, we'll take them in.
It was actually a huge gathering of the Citizens Union, which is really the preeminent civic association here in the city of New York for over 100 years. And so I didn't stay for it. They were honoring Mike Bloomberg. And I decided, well, you know what, I think he's got enough people there already. But in any event, it's great to be back here at this prestigious Clinton Club. I want to thank Marianne and John, our district leaders, and my neighbors for a long time. Thanks for their leadership. Paul, who is destined to be our next city council member in just a little over 2 weeks. One time later in the city,
6 days
right?
and 1 hour, yes.
6 days and 1 hour, but who's counting, right? It's been an incredible privilege to serve as city controller and 8 years as city council member. This is a great city. It's a city that has always meant if you come here, you work hard, you dream big, and you work a little harder, you can achieve great success. And it's a city that my parents a long time ago decided that they wanted to adopt as their home, and so we immigrated here from Taiwan. I always say I was made in Taiwan. I've still got a label on my neck that says so. But it's really what an incredible city. But nonetheless, the city could always be made better, and that is what I've focused on doing over the last nearly 4 years now as city comptroller. Very proud of the record that we've built. Saved almost $5 billion cumulatively through our vigorous audits of city agencies, finding wasted money and recovering it to as much as possible. And then we still have a little bit of money to recover over the next 11 weeks before I leave this office. Also prospectively looking at contracts and trying to stem wasteful spending in the first place by making sure that contracts are structured properly and appropriately, unlike for many years where contracts were just given out to these very expensive outside consultants. City Time, of course, being one of the most infamous examples of a project that was supposed to cost $63 million, but by the time I took office, the city had spent over $700 million. We stopped any more money from going into that money pit project, started an audit that a couple of years later led to the recovery of $500 million, a record not just by New York City standards, but anywhere in the country. So through audits, very careful scrutiny of city contracts, and also accessing the capital markets, we have refinanced almost $20 billion of outstanding city debt, saved in interest that cost alone about $1.8 billion. And of course, I'm very proud of our pension investments. I think there are a number of you here who will be getting another check from me at the end of this month from the pension funds. Over the last 4 fiscal years, we are up in investment returns, a cumulative 58% in our investment funds. So proud of the record that I've been able to garnered over these past 4 years, but of course that is in large part due to your support in getting me elected city controller, and it's just been such an incredible privilege to serve. And of course this year I ran a tough campaign for mayor. The results were not what I would have liked, but nonetheless, very proud of how we stayed focused on the issues of needing to have more economic equity in this city that has seen the wealth gap go out of control to the point where, we have a rising number of homeless and people going hungry, and restaurants are increasingly serving $1,000 plate entrees. I mean, you talk about this wealth gap that really has been a curtailment on our future economic prospects. Education, a system that does need to be revamped and fixed, even after so many overhauls by this administration. I think we really have to return to some of the basics instead of having all these consultants coming in and messing everything up, giving teachers a chance to teach, and letting principals lead, and making sure that it's not just about test taking, it's about educating the kids for the future. And of course, all sorts of quality of life issues, particularly here in our wonderful neighborhoods of Queens that have been neglected for a long time. The issues of property tax inequity, especially for co-op and condo owners that were completely, well, let me use a nice word, jerked around by the Department of Finance. Well, that's another word too. But in any event, changes that I think we need in this city, and I do believe that the city is due for a large change. And I do believe that Mayor de Blasio will be the better mayor than the alternative. And I've endorsed Bill de Blasio. I think this club will go out and work very hard to elect Paul Vallone as our city council member. And a Democratic ticket, Bill de Blasio for mayor, Scott Stringer for comptroller, and Letitia James for public advocate. So, I just want to say thank you, because it has been an incredible ride for me. I gotta say, growing up here in this neighborhood as an immigrant, I never imagined that I, or even someone like me, could get elected to anything, let alone the city council and city comptroller, and be a candidate for mayor of New York City. This is a great city indeed. And so
we wanted to surprise him, so yeah, we do. So it says the William Jefferson Clinton Democratic Club, that's not easy, presented to the Honorable John C. Liu in grateful recognition of his dedicated services as the 43rd Controller of the City of New York, previous council member and charter member of the Clinton Democratic Club.
Yeah.
October 16th, 2013.
Way to go.